first. You just listened to what the mayor had to say. This has been going on for almost 2 weeks now. What's your initial impression based on what he was able to tell us?
Well, my initial impression is that you have to understand that the city does have to investigate to find out where the breach or alleged breach came from. But the challenge is if there's any suspicion of a cybersecurity incident, you have to notify the public in this instance so that people can take steps to do preventative measures to make sure that their information isn't going to be used inappropriately and information that may have been leaked on the dark web.
And Burton, when we were talking to you prior to hearing from the mayor, you talked about how it all comes down to training, because we're seeing this sort of situation, whether we call it a hack, it's ransomware, a cyber attack, it is happening. And we have seen it in our area, as Andy has mentioned, and we've been covering throughout the weeks with scout cameras, with Jackson County, with our local hospitals, and now with the city of Kansas City. That it comes down to training. Exactly.
So the thing that everyone needs to realize is that cybercrime is a human problem. So I'm sure the city of Kansas City has the most appropriate cyber defenses to keep criminals from breaking into their network. But the challenge is that with the help of AI, voice cloning and deep fakes, criminals can now impersonate officials such as Mayor Lucas to get people to volunteer important information that can lead criminals into different business networks and the city's networks, and they can then install ransomware, and it's easy for them to extort information from the city or other business entities to get the money that they want from these ransomware attacks.
The fact that this has gone on this long, that we didn't get a lot of answers, more that the investigation is ongoing early, is it your impression that the city wasn't prepared for this sort of thing to happen?
Well, I hate to speculate, but I mean, if you look at other cyber incidents across the country, then it's usually the case that the longer it takes for a municipality to get up and running, then it may be an instance where they didn't have recent backups of their information to restore and get things up and running, rather than to have to run on a paper system or go back to old times in order to continue business.
And Burton, what was interesting to me is to hear Mayor Quinton Lucas talk about the fact that they found suspicious activity. It was on a weekend, and they shut down the systems. Okay, so and then they have slowly been bringing systems back online. Talk about what you're looking for and how that happens, because although systems are being brought online, you take the water department, for instance, people are in a big jam. You talk about permits, people are in a big jam. So how are these systems deemed clean or clear that they can bring them online?
So when you have a municipality such as the city of Kansas City, you've got different systems that are interfacing with each other. So when you detect suspicious activity, you have to figure out, where did it come in? Was it someone that clicked on a phishing email that allowed criminals to get in, or somehow did they infiltrate the network? And so the city has multiple firewalls and VPNs in place in order to keep criminals out. So you have to find out where the hole was in order to start to backtrack and find out where the criminals are located that are trying to get the information.
One of the questions that has come up over and over again, which we thought we might get an answer to today, was this a cyber attack? Is there ransom involved? Didn't get an answer to that. What do you think?
If I were to speculate, I would say it's probably a ransomware attack, because this follows a pattern that we've seen across different areas in the city, such as Liberty Hospital and North KC Hospital, where there was a cyber incident, and then of course it turns out that it was an actual cyber attack.
And if it's a cyber attack or if it's ransomware, what is happening? What's happening behind the scenes with something like that?
Well, if it's a ransomware attack, then obviously a lot of the computers are affected with a ransomware message where they're locked up, and you really can't do anything with those computers. And so you have to have your IT department come in and remove the actual ransomware from the computer, so you can start to rebuild your network and get up and running again. The other thing that's happening too is that you have to verify that information wasn't transferred off of the city's computers over to the dark web or to some cyber criminal's network. So I mean, that process takes a little bit of time to find out what has happened, and then once you can figure out that information, then you can move forward as far as building systems back up.
It seems like, and you rattled off all the different instances of this recently, which to me is frightening, but the fact that this seems to have stretched on much longer than some of the other recent ones, that it seems like they were able to get back to normal a little faster, maybe a lot faster. What does that say?
The longer it takes, the outward image would appear that the city wasn't really prepared for a cyber incident. So when you look at cyber attacks where it takes a long process, maybe there wasn't checks and balances in place to say, well, if this system is affected, let's shut it down so it doesn't affect our entire network. And unfortunately, for the city of Kansas City, it looks like it's affected a lot of systems.
And this is really elementary, but you've got cyber attack and you've got ransomware. Ransomware is where someone's saying we want money, correct?
Right.
In order to give you back control. And a cyber attack is someone has just sent a
Laura, I'm not laughing at you.
I know.
They're the same. They're the same. Yeah, anytime
Okay.
that your systems have been locked up by an outside source, or if you notice suspicious activity, it's a cyber attack. It doesn't matter how it happens. If it's an outside source in your personal network or private network, yeah, it's a cyber attack.
And to get back to that, when we talk about the human element and all this, even if the bottom line is training, it just takes one weak link then.
Oh, exactly. That's how criminals are able to get access to these large networks. All it takes is one person. But then the other thing that you have to look at too is cyber criminals are getting smarter. They're looking at profiles on social media such as LinkedIn, Facebook, and even Instagram to find out which department you work in and are you the weakest link as far as falling for a voice clone scam from a criminal or just a phishing email that may come in through the city's email system.
And I think with AI, what is especially daunting is the fact that even, we're always warning people to look at websites and any misspellings, but with AI, there are no misspellings, and it's so believable.
Yeah, AI just makes it easy for criminals to facilitate and create the best phishing scheme. Or it only takes about 8 seconds of your voice for a criminal to capture in order to commit voice cloning scams to anybody. So AI is a good tool, but at the same time, unfortunately, criminals are using it to commit these cyber attacks.
We're behind on this. I mean, I think this is like we're not keeping up as far as regulations and being able to prevent this. It just seems like we are far behind.
Well, the problem is that your AI tools such as ChatGPT, Copilot, and Google's Gemini don't allow for criminals to go in and commit phishing schemes or to use voice cloning. It's criminals that have access to that technology that can use it on their own in order to commit these frauds. So I think when you are talking about we're behind, then all of us need to build up our personal firewalls to ensure that we can stay safe from any cyber threat that comes in, whether it be business or personal.
All right, Burton, thank you so much for being with us, and your expertise is needed now more than ever before.
You're going to be busy.
Yes,
I
you
am.
are. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Burton.
And for those of you who are just joining us ahead on KMBC 9 News, we talked to several people who continue to feel the impact of this network shutdown. Plus, we highlight other local agencies dealing with similar cyber concerns. And later, Burton Kelso will join us again to look ahead to the next steps for Kansas City.
We want to thank you for joining us today. We're going to begin our KMBC 9 News at 4. I'm Kelly Eckerman.
And I'm Laura Moritz. Kansas City, Missouri Mayor Quinton Lucas is giving an update on the outage impacting the city's computer system. Crews have been working to bring services back online for almost 2 weeks. And KMBC 9's Jackson Kurtz is live at City Hall, where the news conference just wrapped up. Jackson?
Yeah, we just wrapped up with the mayor. We didn't get much of an update as to what caused the city's computer systems to be down. The mayor did mention suspicious activity, so the city shut down parts of the system to protect all of their data. The mayor also mentioned that, we see these kinds of things happen all the time. KC Scouts, example, Liberty Hospital, but he didn't elaborate on that for the city. We know the FBI is involved in the investigation. The mayor didn't talk about their involvement right now. They are engaged with cybersecurity experts and obviously notified law enforcement to bring these systems back online, but not too many other details as to what causes this, as to when these services will be back online. Now, there were some things that are up and running within the city, like trash was picked up in certain parts of the city and all parts of the city. The mayor did mention that. He did talk about how emails are back up in the city, that you are able to communicate with city officials, with city employees. City employees are still being paid. Lucas says there was a process to this to get things back under control.
I think step one was the moment that our staff learned about this issue, shutting down the system, which is a best practice, making sure that there aren't more threats to either the people of Kansas City, our data, or anything of the sort as quickly as possible as part of why you see that quick shutdown. The second was making sure that we can maintain ongoing operations, particularly on those core city services that people expect each day, trash pickup, water services, and beyond. And then I think third is making sure that the more white-collar side of the city, permitting, planning, business interactions are the sorts of things that are working.
And Lucas says the city will continue to investigate this. We'll have more coming up at 5 o'clock. Live in Kansas City, Jackson Kurtz, KMBC 9 News.
All right, Jackson, thank you. Since the computer system issue started more than a week ago, almost 2 weeks ago now, Kansas City residents have been unable to pay their water bills online or by phone.
KMBC 9's Andy Alcock is joining us from live outside Water Services, where people have been coming all day long to try to pay those bills in person instead. Andy?
Yeah, Kelly and Laura, the office just shut down at the top of the hour here at 4 o'clock. So the final customers are just finishing up their business and making their way home. Now, as you mentioned, one of the issues here is that people have to come in person because they can't pay online. Because those computer systems are down, people can only pay by check or cash. Alejandro Nahara paid his bill today with his 4-month-old son Damien along for the ride. Francie Telemontes-Witt also made the special trip to pay her bill. Shamon Jackson moved into her new home at the beginning of April and never received a bill. Here's some of what they all had to say about their experiences today.
I don't know if they're going to turn our water off, or I need to see what's up because they didn't let me know anything.
That was on my list of things to do today, so I was prepared, but I feel bad for, the people who don't have, the availability to come in from 9 to 4 when they're open.
I think that it should have been addressed, maybe a day or two after it happened, or, immediately.
And one plus for these customers, there are going to be no late fees charged for anybody who is not able to pay their bill on time as long as the computer systems are down. Reporting live outside Water Services, Andy Alcock, KMBC 9 News.
Andy, you did mention that people can only pay by check or cash. Are there any other services this affects?
Yeah, absolutely, Kelly. A little bit earlier, we talked about the issue of the Compass system. There are definitely contractors, other people who do business with the city. They typically do that work online because that Compass system is down. They're not able to get permits or even pay for them, also get inspections, that type of thing. We have heard also previously about municipal courts, that they have had issues accepting money and also with bonds. So this is still very much an ongoing problem for the entire city, Kelly.
All right, thank you, Andy. Now, the Kansas City Scout system is also still out of commission after a cyber attack last month. MoDOT and KDOT tell us it will take months yet to bring it back online. The Scout system doesn't just operate those cameras, it also controls digital traffic signs across the metro. In the meantime, MoDOT and KDOT are providing traffic updates on their websites. Officials also recommend using the app Waze, that's W-A-Z-E, to get real-time updates. To see all of the extensive reporting we've been doing on these issues, just head to our website, kmbc.com. We'll be sure to keep pressing our leaders for answers on these issues.